be you. That's all that you can do. Girl, be you.
Hey y'all, and welcome back to the Girl Be You podcast. I am Gigi, your host. Here at this podcast, we are creating a space for you to be your most authentic self in a world full of chaos. And child, we know that the world is chaotic, but that does not mean that your life has to be chaotic. Y'all, I'm so glad that you joined me back for another episode. I really love being in this creative space, and I have learned over the course of the past couple of months that being creative, is where I thrive and it's where I find the most joy. And this podcast is a way for me to share my thoughts and to share inspiration with you. I remember being a little girl and not having a place to go and not knowing who to turn to. I had a huge family, but wasn't really sure of where to find my space or how to truly be myself. And I contorted myself for such a long time to be something that I wasn't, and trying to seek everyone's approval. And here at 40, y'all, I am learning to be myself. And that is what I want to do here at this podcast, is create a space for us to build community, to be inspired, to have fun, to cackle a little bit, and really enjoy living authentically, being ourselves. So tell someone about this podcast, share it, leave your comments. My goal is that this podcast will go all over the world. That is my prayer. That is what I speak into existence, that this podcast will literally go all over the world, and we will be able to build a community of women and girls who are just being ourselves. Y'all, let's get into our episode this week. And this week, I want to start with spotlighting a Black business. Y'all, this week I am spotlighting a dear friend of mine who goes by the name of Miss Donna. Miss Donna is the CEO of Lady D's Kitchen. And let me first just say that Donna has a heart of gold. Her family and my family have been knowing each other for years. And at this point, we family, okay? And so over a couple years ago, I had the opportunity to plan my father's 30th year pastoral anniversary. And when it came to figuring out who would be the caterer for this event, it was not even a thought that Lady D's Kitchen would be the place that I would go. Donna is the CEO of Lady D's Kitchen, and you can actually find her on Instagram at Donna's Decor on Instagram. But if you are looking to cater your birthday parties, graduations, prom send offs, any functions that you are having, do me a favor and go and support my girl, Donna, Lady D's Kitchen. She is amazing. Not only does she have a heart of gold, but she is professional, she is timely, and you just don't get the food when you book her. You actually get an amazing setup, you get an amazing experience, and she covers everything from catering to being a private chef to meal prepping, because I know some of y'all out there, y'all don't know how to meal prep. Y'all don't know what you're supposed to be eating. So let Lady D's Kitchen be the place that you go to for all of your catering needs. And so we just wanted to take a moment to spotlight you, Donna, and tell you you are doing an amazing job. We see you, we're cheering for you, and we are supporting you. And more than anything, girl, be you. Y'all go and support Lady D's Kitchen. And with that, let's move into our segment of Girl, let me say this. So I no longer get into tussles with people about what generation I'm a part of, right? People always like to call me a millennial, and I'll take that. But also, in taking that, I want you to understand that I came up under a generation where we did things a whole lot different than what the millennial does, okay? I grew up in a time that there was still TV Guide, baby. Some of y'all don't even know what the TV Guide is. But if you know, you know. I grew up in a time where I was still being babysat by my grandmama and my granddaddy, along with my aunts and uncles that lived at my grandparents' house. Okay. It was a community effort. Me and my sister, went straight over to my grandma's house. My dad was a traveling evangelist. My mother was working in corporate. And so when we went to my grandmother's house, it was either my grandma, my granddaddy, my aunts, or my uncles taking care of me. And the reality is I was safe. I was okay. We were in a safe environment. So that is when you talk about a millennial, that's what you have to include. You got to include the fact that my aunts and uncles were recording their TV shows and soap operas on VHS, baby. And you could not change that channel because if you changed the channel, what was going to happen? Yes, you were going to see that channel being changed on your recording. Okay. My uncle used to record the tennis matches, baby. Y'all didn't grow up the same way I did. Okay. I grew up in a time where my grandma was still frying bologna. And not just any bologna. It was the bologna with that red tape around it, okay? Y'all, we not the same. We are not the same. I grew up when they still had a Reese truck, a candy truck that would come down the street and you would get all your candy needs, one stop shop, okay? Now, my granddaddy was not in favor of giving me any money to go get no candy. But I tell you one thing, my grandma always looked out for me and my cousins. And this is what I mean that I'm not the same. I was raised with payphones, 35 cents to make a call. I remember my grandma's rotary phone, one number at a time. I mean, one number at a time. And I'm not going to explain that because if you know, again, you know. I grew up with the Carol Burnett show. I grew up where when we were walking down the street, we had to speak to the neighbors. And if we didn't, there was a knock on my grandmother's door. Miss Miller, your grandchildren did not speak. Baby, we different. We real different. I grew up as a church kid that when we were in church, we could smell the food being cooked in the back. And we knew based upon who was cooking if that food was going to be good. Listen, if Deborah, Tracy, Carol, and my mama Kim was back there, baby, we was about to have a time with the church plate. You should go back and listen to I Was Raised by a Black Mama, that episode, because I go in detail about that church plate, okay? That's how I was raised. I was raised where if they weren't cooking and somebody didn't have a designated time to cook or an assignment to cook in the back, baby, we sat in the back of Bethel. Shout out to 116th and State. Okay. We sat in the back of the church after church to figure out where we were going to go eat. Because that took about an hour, hour and a half. And when we got to the restaurant, baby, we were staying for another 2 hours. And the reason that I bring this up is because my husband and I recently went to dinner with his friends. Shout out to my husband's friends. Love y'all. We went to dinner with them, and as we had dinner, they had already finished their dinner and they waited for us and sat with us and talked with us. And we had such great conversation. And being in that restaurant sparked this idea of what community meant for me growing up. And that could be the reason that I'm so heavy on community now. Because as I looked around the restaurant, I saw that there were so many other families that were literally just sitting there eating and talking. Literally eating and talking. And some of them had probably been there longer than us. Some of them stayed longer than us. We probably stayed past an hour, 2 hours. I don't even know because I wasn't even thinking about the time. I was thinking about community. And this idea of community really, I really want to go back to this idea of community and live in that space of community. Because when we grew up with community, there were certain things that we could be held accountable for. Like how we thought, how we talked, and we had this space that we built where we were building together. We had this space where we were building together. It was like one band, one sound. We may not have always agreed, but we were still that one band. I remember having friends, my parents' friends' kids, and we grew up. And even though we're all like in different places, the remnants of some of that, we still are connected. And I hope and my prayer is that we can really get back to the space of building community. Maybe your community doesn't look like what it looked like when we were growing up, because a lot of the people that were in my community have gone on and they're now, my ancestors and our ancestors. But the beauty is that they left a rich legacy, that I have so many memories that I want to create for my family. I wanted to take a minute to just reflect on community and how important community is. Sometimes we are always moving so quickly that we want to chase the bag, we want to do all of these great things. But I would like to offer that maybe it's not just about the bag, but it's about the community. It's about building a community so collectively we can understand the importance of the bag, right? The bag isn't just the bag, but the bag helps us create our community. It helps us build our community, and our value should be placed in our community and not just chasing the bag. So I hope that I was able to take y'all down memory lane with that segment of Girl, Let Me Say This, because I just love going down memory lane. But I also love that memory lane can help me create a new sense of community for my family. So let's move into this week's topic. So, y'all, I remember babysitting my brothers, and literally between both of my brothers, Gino, hey Gino, there is 10 years between myself and Gino, and there are 15 years between me and Jeremiah. What up, Jeremiah? So I often reflect on the fact that they are grown, y'all, grown men with families and kids that I love spoiling and sending right on back to them. Okay. But I often remember them growing up. And I remember sharing with them things that I would try to teach them as a big sister. And there was this one thing that stands out to me is whenever I would do something nice for them, or I would go get them food, or, we would hang out and we would do things, I would always prompt them to say thank you. And it wasn't in the way of saying like, yeah, I better say thank you. I would just say after whatever I did nice for them or whatever we did, I would always tell them, thank you goes a long way. And immediately they would be like, oh, gee, I'm sorry. Thank you. Because I just felt like thank you really does go a long way. And um, I would even lead by example when my dad would take us out to dinner and, he would pay for everybody. I think I'm due for a dinner, Daddy. All right. But he would pay for everybody's dinner. And immediately after he would pay, I would always say, thank you, Daddy. Because sometimes it's assumed that people should do things for us, right? It's assumed that, well, this is my daddy. He should just do that for me. Or this is my big sister. They should just do that for me. Or this is my husband, or this is my wife. They should just do that. My mom should just automatically do those things for me. People don't have to do those things for you. And people don't have to be nice to you. And so when I was thinking about planning out what I wanted to share this week, I really sat in this thought of gratitude, right? I've always tried to live in a place of gratitude, because it's so easy to be negative and always feel like, man, there are certain things that I should already have by now, and I should have this and I should have that. But we never ever are grateful for what we have in that moment. I remember years ago hearing, I don't know if it was like from Tony Evans or somebody I was just listening to, but they were saying, be thankful for everything that you don't even think about, right? Like if you are grateful to have the activities of your limbs, say that, because tomorrow you couldn't have it. Like you could wake up and literally not be able to have your right frame of mind. You could wake up and not know how to dress yourself or not know how to clean yourself or any of those things. So that sense of gratitude, I've just been thinking about that. And maybe it's because I'm getting older, but I was just really thinking about, thank you really does go a long way. And not only just being grateful for the things that we have, but grateful for the opportunities that are given. So I had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to see, I call him my forever pastor, Pastor Hannah. And I was just extremely grateful for that opportunity. Like seeing him caused me to think about the opportunities that I was afforded. And not just with him and, being a director of a children's ministry at his church years ago, but also just thinking about all of the opportunities that I've had and thinking about even starting from like my dad, like my father giving me the opportunity to test out how to lead, how to teach Sunday school, how to oversee certain things, right? And those opportunities provided me the the ability to add things to my resume. And so when I think about that, it sparked me to think about, oh, these opportunities that my father gave, which opened the door for the opportunity for me to work with Pastor Hannah. And then also thinking about my own resume of like when I had the opportunity to work for Tracy Austin, the owner of Danielle Ashley Communications. Shout out to Tracy. So I was just thinking about all of that and then thinking about different opportunities that I had to work with various people like Mama Ida, who I still am connected to because of her wisdom, because of her conversations with me, I was able to learn so much that a lot of people weren't able to learn, right? So again, going back to this idea of being grateful and being thankful, that sparked so much within me. It gave me pause to think about the opportunities that I've had and how I probably wouldn't even be on the path that I'm on now with starting my own consulting firm or being exposed to certain things and being exposed to different people because of these opportunities. It prompted me to just think about how important gratitude is. And it also prompted me to think about uh, speaking certain things over your life and how your words can change the course of your day, your life, your situation. Gratitude opens the door for more to come to you and not just material things, but more peace, more joy, more contentment in where you are. I used to tell my aunt when we lived in Texas, I would tell her all the time, I'm like, we are living in the good old days. And I didn't realize that until you start thinking about it. Like, those were the good days. And so I think staying in the place of gratitude and thankfulness really allows more opportunities and, um, opportunities for great things to happen. It also, thinking about this also made me think about how important it is to not burn bridges. Sometimes some relationships you don't always get that opportunity to go back and say thank you. And sometimes it's just the write in your journal and say it in the atmosphere like, I am grateful for that opportunity. I probably never will be able to go back to that person, but I am grateful for that opportunity to say thank you. I am grateful for the opportunity to be able to work in a particular environment that allowed me to get to a certain place and uh, stand up again. Because sometimes we can be knocked down and we get opportunities to where we are able to kind of pull ourselves together and stand back up and get ourselves together so that we can actually move to the next thing. And it also made me realize in having a good relationship with my dad and being able to talk to people like Pastor Hannah and just old bosses and different things like that, it made me realize that I may not see eye to eye with everybody, but I still have to honor those relationships that provided me a certain thing and taught me a certain thing, right? It taught me these lessons. And being able to say thank you, because thank you is really a humbling thing. When you think about it, you think like, oh, I don't have to say thank you. No, actually, you do have to say thank you. And it's important to say thank you, because without that person, without them giving you the opportunity to cultivate, to hone your skills, you probably wouldn't even be in the place that you are. And it's always shocking to me when I encounter people or know when people are just like, I ain't got to say thank you. They should have gave me that opportunity. What? Are you kidding me? Um, but it's a beautiful thing when you can acknowledge the opportunity, realize that without the opportunity, you probably wouldn't be the person that you are, because all of these places and all of these stops in your life provide you the growth necessary and also the space to learn. Like, I would have never known that I actually really love project management and, providing consulting needs for those who work with children and leadership had I not been given the opportunity to work with Pastor Hannah. But then to backtrack, I would have never known that I had those qualities within me had my father not given me the opportunity to grow and to blossom. I mean, I was 15 years old doing my first basketball tournament by myself, working with Nike to create opportunities and, give us free paraphernalia for the basketball tournament. Like, I wouldn't have known that I was capable of doing that had my father not given me the opportunity to do that. And then given me the opportunity to plan a festival for our church years and years ago. Because without those tools, I wouldn't have been able to then go to Pastor Hannah's church, New Life, and say, hey, this is what I've done. This is the experience that I've had. And then him trusting me is to oversee 3 services with so many volunteers and so many children and so many parents, and to trust me with that is huge. I would have never known if I can do that had my father not trusted me, and I would have never known that I had the capacity to do those things at New Life had Pastor Hannah not trusted me. And now being able to trust that whatever God put inside of me with those experiences, that I can now step out and do my own thing. So you see how thank you opens the opportunities. And so maybe you are that person that's like, I don't have to say thank you. I could just move about the way I want to. I mean, you can if you want to, but it's always better to arm yourself with gratitude and thankfulness to the people and the places that have afforded you the opportunities. So here is my big old thank you to my dad, to old bosses, Tracy Austin, to mentors like Mama Ida, to Pastor Hannah, and to people who have given me the opportunity to hone my skills, to give me the opportunity to see if I could even do it, and letting me really fall on my face. That's the thing. When you're given these opportunities, sometimes you fall flat on your face because you have no idea what you're doing. But those people who give you that opportunity, it is such a blessing. So don't let your words kill you. Let your words help you live. Let your words revive you and help you flourish. Be thankful, as thank you goes a very, very long way. Stay in a place of thankfulness, stay in a place of gratitude, and honor the opportunities that are given to you, because you never know when you might have to cross back over that bridge, and you don't want to burn any bridges. People really don't have to be nice to you. So, y'all, thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode. If you haven't already, make sure you're following me on Instagram at G_girlBU. And make sure you sign up for the newsletter at www.girlbeyou.com so you can stay up to date with all the things that I'm sharing on a weekly basis. And also, y'all know your girl has launched her Patreon. I will tag it in the show notes. Y'all go over to the Patreon because just so you know, I'm sharing a little bit more of my business that never makes it to the podcast, y'all. So thank y'all so much for joining me. Make sure you tell somebody about this podcast. And you know what I'm going to say, girl, be you. Until next time. Bye, y'all.
Girl, be you. That's all that you can do. Girl, be you. That's all that you can